a seat at the table with some men with confidence.
Well, that's fine. So here's a uncomfortable segue. So the self-deletion rate for men is 4 times the rate for women. Why the disparity? And what can be done about it?
Okay, so my first thought was quite honestly 2 words. And those 2 words are 2 words. You'll get this as soon as I said it. Do something. That constant kind of pressure to do something, I feel, has a lot to do with self-deletion rates and the disparity. Because if you think about it, how often is that phrase or those words used to women? Since your question was about the disparity, there's not a lot of that per se, not in the same context. There's this whole idea that you gotta fix it, you gotta make it happen, you got to get it done and push through and be able to do A through F and then H through G through Z, all with a smile on your face and not complain about anything. We're talking about things to do to get ahead of depression and things to do to deal with it. If you're constantly carrying that kind of weight and that kind of pressure, people all have a breaking point of sorts, and unfortunately self-deletion is one of those things that turns into a viable answer.
It's really sad because men, we're it's like you said, we're under a lot of pressure, and the same way, like I heard this lady talking, she was talking about her as a black female, and she was talking about something that's really toxic that people don't think is toxic, but it's toxic. Telling women, you're a strong black woman, and she's like, I'm not strong. I'm not strong. If I don't have to be strong, why do I have to be strong? I'm a woman. I have vulnerabilities, et cetera, et cetera. And it's the same for men. We're told to be tough. You better not cry, boy. I remember being told that. You better not cry, boy. But, I was a kind of kid. I wore my feelings on my sleeves anyway. It just is what it is. But I'm like, why do we force ourselves into this position to take on so much? Granted, we're tough and we're resilient and we can deal with a lot. But, it's like you said, everybody has a breaking point. Everyone can only bear so much. A point comes when you got to step away and be like, hey, look, this is too much. This is too much. I'm going to step away. Respect my decision to step away. Don't try to shame me because I'm stepping away. Don't try to call me a chump or whatever. I'm just going to step away and get myself together, and then I'll come back. Can everybody respect that? And we're just under so much intense pressure. And sometimes that pressure is self-imposed. It's self-imposed because we've been taught, no, you gotta be this, you gotta be that. And I've been in positions where I had to be the strong one. I had to be the one that's not breaking. And I held my place, I stood up and I stood in my spot. But when it was all said and done, I had to sit down and just do the famous face palm. But man, just that pressure, just that societal pressure to man up. You hear it all the time, man up. And it's usually from people who don't know what it means to be a man. What do you know? What do you know about manning up? Don't you man up? But mental illness is such a tricky thing. It's kind of hard to pinpoint one single reason why men delete themselves. But it's worth talking about anyway. It's worth sorting out, looking at the numbers, looking at the statistics, and trying to figure out. Because eventually we're going to have to come up with something to kind of even this thing out into down to all to I'm sorry, I'm kind of losing my words here, but it's good to talk about, because the more we talk about it, the more our minds think about it, and the better we can, the easier it'll be for us to come up with a solution as a society. That is, so it's worth talking about. And unfortunately, I don't have an answer.
So, one of the things that I feel is that early on in life, as a man, you're given the choice between two paths. I mean, you get this choice early. You could either choose the path of expressing your feelings, but if you do that, no one will respect you as a man. If you're looked at as being emotional, you lose the respect. And then it's the opposite side where you don't show any emotion. You gain the respect, but you're like a walking time bomb. And it's like those are your two options, right? The choice between two bad decisions. Like there's no, both of them are terrible decisions. And sometimes it may take you 20, 30, 40, 50 years before you realize that there's actually an in-between somewhere in there. Like you can actually, be stoic, but actually talk about things from time to time. Like that is actually an option. And it's, it's easy to understand how someone gets there. If you can understand, if you keep putting air into a balloon, it will pop. If you keep adding pressure to a pressure cooker, it will burst. Like, it's not hard to imagine why someone will decide, you know what? The way the world is treating me and the way that I'm feeling about myself, I'd rather feel nothing than this. And it's sad, but you can empathize with it. Nothing sometimes feels better than pain. And I'm not encouraging anyone to do anything, but I can understand the methodology of, if that's even a word, the method of thinking, right? I can understand how someone can get to that point. What I hope is that they would also see that it ain't all pain, right? Every moment isn't painful. That there's some good to offset the bad. There's some positive to offset the negative.
Right.
And I know that if you get negative for an extended period of time, you might not see that light. You might not see that opportunity. But I hope that each person in this situation has someone in their life to remind them of, be here, stay here, stay in the game. Like you can't win if you ain't in the game. And that's true. And I'm going to throw away that analogy because this ain't no game. This is life.
Right. But I get your point.
You're winning if you're in it.
Right. As long as you're not quitting, you're winning. I think about Luke Perry Luke Perry was an actor on 90210, and he was recently in a new show on the CW that was doing good numbers. And he had a stroke and he passed away. I don't know why, but when he passed away and I heard that he was gone, that affected me. It affected me more than I expected. And I wasn't necessarily a Luke Perry fan. He wasn't. If I saw him in person, I would not have fanboyed and, oh, it's Luke Perry. Oh. I would not have done that. But when I heard that he passed away, it struck me deep. Deeper than even when I heard Kobe passed away. You know, and it just, you just never know what your absence is going to do to someone. You know, we're watching each other, believe it or not. And when people check out, you have an effect. You really do. Whether you check out on purpose or whether it's sickness or whatever. I was just thinking about a friend of mine's mother. And now both our mothers are gone on. And I can I think I can feel his pain, but oh my goodness, when people check out, you just never know how it's going to affect you. And again, I can't say that I was a Luke Perry fan, but when I heard that he was gone, I was affected. I'm driving home from work and I'm like, oh my goodness, no, not Luke Perry. I was wanting him to do something else first, you know. But, you know, think of those that you're leaving behind.
I was a little admittedly thrown when you first started, because, you know, we've known each other for a long time. I was like, where is he going with this? Because I knew you were not a fan and it wasn't a big deal, but then the light bulb happened as you made the turn. Like, we are kind of all watching each other, and you never know how losing somebody is going to affect you. And that part really struck home with me because I identified with that in a different way. You know, you talked about losing your mom. I lost my dad. It's been years now. But when it happened, now, and for the record, he and I weren't like really close. We didn't have this wonderful bond or anything like that. I didn't grow up with him. I saw him twice as like a young, early teen, and not again until I was an adult. But I saw him as an adult. I was like 21 or so, and then shortly after that he passed. And I felt the way because on one hand I was like, well, at least I said what I needed to say to him. But then I started feeling bad because I didn't get to grow beyond having said what I needed to say to him. Okay, well, air's cleared. Now what? Didn't get to have that. And that didn't bother me as much as him just not being here bothered me. And I was going through that loss process, and I kept wondering, why am I so bothered by this? It wasn't like we were that tight or that cool I don't understand this. So, long story short, it doesn't necessarily have to be a celebrity. It can be somebody who has a biological tie to you, or dare I say even somebody who's been sort of a mentor, you know, impactful figure within your life on any level. You just never know what a person's loss could mean for you. Conversely, that also means you don't know what you not being here may mean to someone else. Right. So for sake of the not knowing how you are affecting someone else. Be mindful of it. Now. And I feel like that's a valid statement in the sense that oftentimes people who have self-deleted have been known as having said, well, I don't think anyone would notice or miss me. You never know how true or how wrong you are about that.
So, two names come to mind when I think of this topic. I think Robin Williams, Anthony Bourdain. And the thing about them that to me is special is that you, me, anybody else looking from the outside would assume these guys are fine, they're living a good life, they have money, they're extremely talented, and they're living a life that most people would do just about anything to have. Like, Robin Williams was actor, comedian, talented on so many different levels. Wasn't just an actor and a comedian. He was like top shelf on both levels, right? He was a top shelf actor, top shelf comedian. Right. Anthony Bourdain got paid to visit foreign countries and eat delicacies. To travel and eat the best. That was his job. And these two impressive guys still were in a mental state to the point where they would rather take their life or self-delete than live the life that they had. Like, to me, that shows that feeling or that idea can happen to anybody. If it can happen to them, it can happen to me, it can happen to you, it can happen to anyone. So I know one part of the questions was, what can we do about it? Take care of our mental health. When we were talking about depression, watch yourself, ask yourself questions. Where am I? How am I? Like how Rhino was saying, how am I doing? And that's a real short answer, but I feel that's kind of where it's going. And also, look after each other. Ask the people that you care about, how are you doing? How are you? And mean it. Actually want to hear an answer, not just wanting them to say, I'm okay. Well, good. I'm glad you're okay. Let me tell you everything's wrong with me. It's not like that. But actually want them to talk about it. I want them to get it off their chest. Be an ear to your people.
I will say, I feel like that's a double-sided thing, though. You want to check in with your people and make sure that they're good. I'm going to add, if someone asks you that question, tell them. Because a lot of times we hide behind oh, I'm good. I'm alright. I'm making it. It's just, I'm getting by. Those all sound like adequate answers, right? It's not, well, no, I'm actually not doing that well. Or, I'm a little iffy today. I feel a little off. Something ain't quite sitting right with me. And I get that sometimes it's hard to share those things, but we know, kind of like we've discussed on a couple of these topics, I think you have an idea of the people around you who deserve to be there and who don't. And the ones who deserve to be there, you can let them know, yeah, man, I'm feeling a little off today. Okay. well, what's going on? Why are you feeling off? And then the conversation kind of grows from there. But that is absolutely, I think the other half that needs to be mentioned just as equally, because people, I think, are trying to do a better job of taking up that mantle of, so how are you? Hey man, I just want to check in with my peoples. How y'all doing? Let's do it kind of, because I see those posts every once in a while on social media. Hey guys, I'm just checking in with my people. How y'all doing? Hit me up. And people will like and, post a thumbs up or whatever, but you were asked the question. Don't hold back.
Appreciate it. Okay, so just looking at what we've been doing, I think we've been going for a pretty decent amount of time. And I kind of enjoyed our discussion. I hope you all did too.
Mm-hmm.
But before we go, anybody have anything they want to add before we close? All right, well, in that case, Terrence, the floor is yours.
Well, as always, when it's time to wrap these things up, I always try to extend an invite to our listeners, our audience, and I'm practicing what I preach. How y'all doing? Y'all feeling all right? Get my Erykah Badu on a little bit. And let us know in the comments. How you doing? What's going on? What's good? What's popping? We've clearly told you how we're doing on sub levels, so please let us know. And as always, thank y'all for listening. Like, share, subscribe. God bless you. Good night. Deuce.
Peace out, everybody.
Peace.